Now, the rest of the story.
Well, I know it's not much for a first day harvesting video. This is more like after the fact. And we end up doing more than we were planning on. Ryan's currently running around the field grinding up the stalks from what we've harvested so far. I mean, the corn plants are healthy. They're green. I would make really nice cow feed in bedding, which is where we're at. They're calling for rain here in a little over a week, and the best fodder bales you can get made are the stuff that you get ground up immediately after the combine hits it. Hopefully you get them dry, and you can go ahead and get them baled up and make enough of them, and you treat them right. The bales that I made last year under the same program, I've also being fed out, and they're just as healthy as they were when we made them last year. I'm really tempted for how green some of these leaves are. I mean, trying to make this tomorrow, like bale it up and wrap it, would have been a heck of a plan, and maybe had some quality stuff too. But I'm just not quite in the point of willing to risk it, especially when in the last 2 minutes I've kind of gotten everything's going to be okay to go ahead and try to get the last of our beans in. But the stuff's grinding up really nice. Hopefully here, I'm thinking over the weekend. Plus we're going to run more corn out tomorrow. He's going to hit my four-wheeler. We're going to run the bunch more corn out tomorrow and work on getting that dried so we can transfer it over to store it, which would be great, because while that's doing that, we can go work on the last of my beans. And then I have a cornfield that I want to get ran over, more or less just because they're calling for another few days of rain in a little over a week. So trying to get as much done in a shorter time as possible is what we're working on. And he's really moving. I could run and take out his drone, but I don't want to do that either. Woohoo! There, how's that? You know, I'll give the 76 a hard time, but that tractor has been really reliable. I mean, that thing's been to heck and back. Largely just because I put a lot of work through it. I mean, it's been over a lot of acres and it's done a lot of jobs. And I'd have a hard time to actually ever want to get rid of it. I mean, it's the sentimental value at this point. And if you guys are sick of looking at my face already, that's pretty much the equivalent of all we got done. From here right into the sun and up to the side road here, I'd say we're probably anywhere between 10 and 15 acres done. And for how fast it was coming off the field, I couldn't keep corn away from the combine. Literally to the point, I'm just going from here to the bins with the 46 and that red cart in the field. The combine was still waiting for me, and I'm just going from here to right behind the barn over there. And I only broke the shear bolt once in the auger, so I think I'm doing pretty good. And these soybean stubble, I'm gonna just sit and talk, so exit the video if you're tired of me talking. The soybean stubble is gonna be wicked awesome to plant into. Probably the best job we've ever had as far as a bean head. That 20-footer we had, it was nothing but issues. It was locked up. You'd clean it, you'd go through and get everything underneath loosened up again, and then it'd sit for a while, and it just seems like it just did not want to flex. So this new head, even though it was broken on the ends, this was harvested before that was fixed, and still a really amazing job. It was getting down low enough where there were no bean pods left on the stem, so it's cutting low enough to do that. And then now that we just went through and replaced the broken parts that we had on it, I'm hoping we'll be able to fly right through that last 100 acres of soybeans and get it put away again for the year. I'd like to get it cleaned up and preferably not get rained on again if I can help it. And then it's just on to corn, and corn is holding on. It's wet, it's holding on to its moisture. We actually gained 2 points from all that rain we had there. We had like 3 inches, So we're dealing with that. The plants are still green and healthy, which if you guys remember last year, we had green and healthy plants clear up to the first week of November. And that stuff took one heck of a run towards 300 bushel to the acre. Is this stuff running 300? No, it is not. But a waiting slash, that's a really pretty shot. Waiting slash being held off, starting planting corn until after the 10th. It was the 11th before I started planting corn. It actually, I think, was to our benefit because we were able to wait until the plants were able to wait until we got those rains throughout the summer. Dry early on, made the plants root down. Granted, it stressed everybody out a lot more than any of us really would have preferred. And plants don't look that awesome. The ears aren't that even. But just the fact that we're seeing the yields that we're seeing, the home farm is always usually pretty respectable. But we're actually kind of optimistic on what the corn's going to do going forward. So it's high time to start moving on it. But trying to multitask now, getting the harvest during the day and then trying to get some of these stalks cut and made through here at the end of the day is pretty important too. We'll get that stuff raked. We'll be hitting it with the coon baler. That's still here. We'll have the knives in on it, so that stuff it's really fine. It's chopped up, ground up fodder. Let it dry out, then hit it with that coon baler with the knives in, chop it up that much more. I'm hoping it's going to be, you know how I like to say I got poor man's tile with that mole plow of mine? I like to think of this as kind of like the poor man's, granted if you do this you're not poor, it's a way to do it. A type of corn silage. It doesn't have all the corn in it, but going through and grinding it up, then chopping it as it's going into the baler, your bales are basically going to they're going to be a lot of fun to take the net wrap off of. What I'd like to do is do 50 of them with that liquid molasses and then wrap them, and with the intention of I'm probably going to put those directly into the bale feeders so the cows are able to chew on them a little bit. The hay that I'm trying to feed them, they're not super crazy about it. I mean, I got a lot of good quality hay too, but is it enough to get me through the winter? So we're here, and the corn fodder is some quality stuff, so I just as soon try to get something made off of it so I have something to kind of fall back on to get them through the winter, because it's a long ways till first cutting at this point. But the liquid molasses on the hay bales I'm still working on. The straight molasses, the 5 gallons, right on the end of that bale, it sat for 5 days, and I fed it, and the stuff had only soaked in about a foot. So mixing it with half of a 5 gallon pail of molasses and half a 5 gallon pail of hot water, and then dumping that on the bales, that definitely helps it soak in more, and it seems like the cows are actually more apt to go towards it. That's a very, very pretty tractor. That's probably going to end up being on the rhino cutter for the most part. It'll be on the rake, but I want to be able to go through and cut like a lot of these field edges out. And in the past, the rotary mower usually got hooked up either way at the end of the season after tillage and after everything else is done, or it was getting put on just long enough to chop stalks, and then I was hauling corn with it again. But with the 79 on the wagon and eventually the grain cart here, the 76 is a little bit more flexible and a lot more available for being left on the mower a little bit longer, so we can do some of that random stuff. Enough tractors and machinery around and enough operators, we actually may get a bunch of stuff done. So there goes Ryan. This stuff was straight tracked with the planter, straight back and forth. Grandpa, for how he farmed, it wasn't ideal. It's not what he wanted, because he needed more acres to rotate into, especially when you had hay and corn and oats. But for us, it's better. It's simpler, it's easier to spray, it's easier to plant, it's easier to combine. being able to go through next year, which I love the technology as long as it's working. Yes, there's learning curves, but next year when we come to plant this, I'm going to plant my headlands. Then I will literally be able to go bring up the AB line that I made this year, put it into the monitor, offset that line by 15 inches. Then I'll be able to plant corn right down the center of these rows. And I'm going to be doing that on some of my soybeans for next year. I'll be planting them directly between the standing corn stalks that we'll be harvesting this year. So that's all I got for tonight, guys. I'm hoping we're not running out of nice fall days, but the days are getting shorter and the nights are getting colder. So until next time, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be turning my camera on periodically throughout harvest here so you guys can be involved. I think we're going to do Speedy Gonzalez past me here. All he's got to do is pretty much everything that way, and he's moving fast enough. He ain't going to take very long to do it. Alright, I'll talk to you guys later.